So put on your thinking caps a little bit. I sent you a text, and this is a text that we say every single day in davening, every day of the year, before we start the actual Shacharis. So we say the section in the Torah where we're commanded to offer the incense every day, the Ketores, and we also say Shacharis Korbanos. We quote from Masechtas Zvachim, which deals with the korbanos, the offerings offered in the Beis Hamikdash, because our davening is in place of korbanos. So I choose this one because it makes a reference to the Korban Pesach, which we are about to bring. So let's get it up in the text. I'll just translate it simply, and then we'll explain, not all of it, because it will take us. I just want to tell you where this comes from. It's one of the Rebbe's Rishimis. They found, after the Gimel Tammuz, they found notebooks that the Rebbe had written of words of Torah. He clearly left for after Gimel Tammuz, and they published it. It's a whole series of Svarim. And this is from there, taken from there. It's very, very detailed and nuanced. We're going to give an overview of the main point. So let's get it up. Let's look at I'll just do the translation so it'll be quicker. So we say like this. Before you start, so we have to know like this, that the korbanos, the sacrifices, friends, just heads up, it's going to be technical. We've got to get the technical part straight, and then we understand the physical, technical part. We're going to explain its deeper meaning. And this is very important because the whole idea of sacrifices, it's what's what I'm looking for. It makes people uncomfortable in the modern so-called delicate, refined era. Next door, they completely removed it, not just from the Siddur, but they won't even read it from the Torah. I don't know what they do on Torah readings throughout the whole book, but they won't read it. It's for the obvious reason, sacrificing animals. So therefore, it's important to understand what it means. But to understand what it means, its spiritual meaning, when you first understand it's, the details physically. Now, just as a general overview, the whole idea of the offering of the animal is the animal within man. That's integral to the whole idea of the offering, that the person brings himself, offers himself, dedicates himself to Hashem. Okay, let's get to this, the physical detail and then the spiritual dimension. So there are two levels of offerings. One designation is called Kodesh Kodshim, Holy of Holies, and the other designation, a lower level of sanctity, Kodesh Kalim, a lighter sanctity. Different laws govern them. Where they're slaughtered, who can eat it, where it can be eaten. Kodesh Kodshim are eaten only by the Kohen. They're slaughtered only in the northern part of the Beis Hamikdash, and very close to the Holy of Holies. And there are many restrictive laws that apply to the offerings of the higher sanctity that don't apply to the laws of the lower sanctity. Here, the Mishnah is referring to three offerings. What they share in common is the Kodshim Kalim. They are of the lower level of sanctity, now as follows. The Pchoi, the firstborn, V'Maser, and the 10th, V'Pesach, and the Pesach offering. The firstborn offering, so this one, as we're going to say, is eaten only by Kohanim. It's one of the gifts, the gifts that a Jewish farmer would give to the Kohen, and that is every firstborn animal is given to the Kohen. So it's a sacrifice. Part of it is of the meat is offered on the altar, and part of it is eaten by the Kohen. But its sanctity, as we'll see, it's not restricted to where it can be eaten and how long it can be eaten, etc. Then Meiser. Meiser is every 10th animal. Every year, the person would herd his animals into a pen and let them out one by one, and then mark each 10th one with a daubet, with a stick with paint. And this animal would also be taken to Jerusalem and offered as an offering, but eaten by the owner. And then there's Pesach. That's the Korban Pesach that is eaten, the slaughtered Erev Pesach. It's slaughtered in the courtyards of the Beis Hamikdash on Erev Pesach, and its fats are offered on the altar, and the animal is taken whole and roasted and eaten by the one who brought it and other families. Just the detail here, nothing can be left over of this Korban Pesach. It has to be completely eaten the Seder night, and often one family is not large enough to consume it, and it cannot be eaten while you're hungry. It has to be eaten once one is already satiated. So therefore, it would mean that many families often certainly that are related would all register menuyim. They will be registered on one korban. And at the end of the Seder, everybody got a kazayas the size of an olive, a little more, and that was the concluding climactic part of the Seder. So this animal, this lamb, was shechted as mentioned, in the Beis Hamikdash courtyard, and part of it, its innards were offered on the Mizbeach. So says the Mishnah. So the offering of the firstborn animals, the tithe of cattle, and the Passover offering were also sacrifices of lesser sanctity, kodshim kalim, meaning they might be slaughtered anywhere in the courtyard of the Beis Hamikdash, unlike the higher order of sacrifices, where they're only slaughtered in a certain section, the north side, which is the right side when you went in, close to the heichal, to the actual sanctuary. The blood required only one sprinkling. The other sacrifices required essentially 4 sprinklings on the altar. This was only one, but it had to be done over against the base of the altar. The altar had a base that's surrounded it on 3 sides, basically, and that's where the blood was offered. I'm not explaining all the details, so you get a general idea. They differed in their consumption. All of them were eaten, but by whom? So the firstborn, the Pchor, was eaten only by the Kohanim, whereas the Maisa, the tithe, the 10th animals, were eaten by any person. Both the firstborn and the tithe might be prepared for food in any fashion. It could be cooked, it could be broiled. The meat that was designated for the one who brought it could be consumed in any way. However, and moreover, and what was the time frame? And eaten anywhere in the city of Jerusalem, and you had 2 days and 1 night. The day you brought it, then the night that followed, and then the next day till sunset. So it means day, night, day. In contrast to the Korban Pesach offering, however, the Passover offering could only be eaten at night, and no later than midnight. That's why the first night of the Seder, we have to eat our afikomen before midnight, because our afikomen represents the Korban Pesach. So the custom is we try and eat it before midnight. So he had a very, very limited time, and only at night, and only before midnight. Moreover, nor could it be eaten by those, except by those registered for it. As I mentioned before, you had to register when the Kohen shechted it. You had to have in mind all these people that had been registered on this animal, whereas the other sacrifices could be eaten by anybody. You didn't have to register for it. You had to be a state of purity, but you could eat of any Kohen could eat of the firstborn, and the tithe. Any Jew could eat from, as long as he is ritually pure. But for the Korban Pesach, you had to be already, before it was shechted, you had to be already registered, as it were. And moreover, it could not be eaten only roasted. The Korban Pesach could not be eaten any other way but roasted. which is why we don't eat roasted meat at the Seder night. It shouldn't look like that we are in any way bringing a korban where it's forbidden to do so now until Mashiach comes. God willing, this year we will. Okay, I'm just going to close the door there. Just go ahead. So now, friends, we're going to explain this spiritually. So first of all, the first two sacrifices mentioned is the firstborn and the 10th. What does this mean spiritually? So friends, we all have 10 faculties of the soul in our soul. We have 10 faculties, 3 intellectual and 7 emotional. 7 times you wind the tefillin on our arm, opposite the heart that tefillin is placed, which is the seat of the emotions, which corresponds to the 7 days of the week, which corresponds to God's 7 emotions that God has chosen to manifest, which we will describe in a few minutes when we daven, the Hashem Agdula, V'Agvura, V'Tiferes, and so on. And then we have 3 faculties of intellect. Chachma, Bina, and Das. P'chor, firstborn, refers to what? The first faculty, which is Chachma. Now, what is Chachma? In a word, friends, Chachma is the highest faculty of man. You know what it is? It's the truth seeker within us that seeks the truth at whatever the cost. That's what Chachma is. It's the objective search for truth. And it's symbolized by the letter Yud, which is a small letter, bittul, because the self here, it's self-transcendence. It's what's the emes. That's what Chachma is. That's the highest level. Then comes Bina. Once I've discovered the truth, I internalize it in my own language, take ownership, and many steps that follow. But the deepest, unique faculty that sets the human being apart, and this is the truly human gift of God, is that we are open to seeking and the discovery of the truth that is beyond our experience currently. We seek to discover what's behind, what's the truth. And again, it's objective, no matter what the price. Mesiras Nefesh comes from there, self-sacrifice, because if the truth is discovered, then there's no price on truth. It cannot be bought. That's P'chor. The 10th animal is the final. I'm not describing all 10 attributes. Many of us are familiar with them already. So now we're getting down to the 10th attribute. What's the 10th attribute? Quite simply, behavior. The 10th and final attribute in the human that God has granted us is the ability to communicate, to behave, to interface with the world on a behavioral level. So now we're going to understand what this means. Now, before we get to the details of the laws here, one more thing. As we just described, Chachma is about, it's the seeker within me. It's the seeker within me. We're all seeking the emes. That's the firstborn animal. The tithe, that's the part of me that is tethered to the world, that engages the world, that we have to make a living, we've got to interact with the world, and we have both these components. We have both components. We have the practical side of us, and then there is the part of us that imagines, that dreams, that seeks, that longs. In the words of actually the prophet and Kabbalah, the human heart, which reflects this, it expands and contracts. It goes out and then returns. Rotze v'shuv. There are moments when we seek to transcend and just merge with the divine. And then there are moments of, and that's kind of moments of agitation in the sense that no, more, higher, deeper, not being satisfied. And then there are moments in their life, this is the interplay constantly in life, Malchus, the 10th, settled, behaved, orderly, engaged. If you like tranquility, and restlessness. Chachma is restless. Koyach, the word chachma is koyach ma, which means the faculty that's constantly questioning the truth that I discovered, but what's behind that? And questioning ourselves, questioning the truth of our own existence, not being satisfied. And it's endless because God's infinite and endless. That's the first one, is the restlessness. And the 10th one is grounded, calm, and settled, the reality of life, engaged, moments of calm. And each one has its virtue. Each one has its virtue. So the Mishnah says like this. First of all, who eats? Who eats the firstborn? The Kohen. Who eats the tithe? Anybody. That's because the Kohen is the elevator. Who embodies that seeking, that transcendence? The Kohen is his whole life is life of transcendence. He works in the Beis Hamikdash. He works in holiness. He consumes the meat of this offering. The symbolism is we're Kohen within ourselves. Shabbos, we're like Kohanim, if you like, and weekday, it's the 10th. We're engaged with the world. The weekday is the Meiser, and the B'chor is like the Shabbos, the Kohen. So the Kohen eats the firstborn because that's symbolic of those moments in our lives of holiness and transcendence and entering into the inner sanctum ever deeper without end. The 10th, that's the engagement of the world in action, the performance of mitzvahs, which applies to everyone. You can all do the mitzvahs equally. The whole adam. That's a great equalizer's behavior in terms of the actual commandments and the observance, putting on the tefillin, giving stock, eating kosher, the physical observance of mitzvahs. The whole adam. Okay. The Mishnah said, so when are they consumed? We'll soon get to the Korban Pesach. We'll soon contrast this with the Korban Pesach. It's so beautiful. The first two, when you consume them, day, the night, and then the next day. What does this mean symbolically for the Jew? Day, night, day. What does day mean? Day means when godliness is revealed. Night is when God's concealed. So we have a day, night, and day. The obvious connection, first Beis Hamikdash. The night in between was the 70 years of exile, in which the story of Purim took place. And then came the second day, the second Beis Hamikdash. Now, the Babylonian exile was not like the exile we have today. First, there was a short period in between the first and second holy temples. There was still prophecy then. There was still prophecy. Daniel, learning about Daniel, Mordechai, they all lived during that period. There were prophets and great wise men. Even Babylon itself in halacha, Bavel, has a certain status that the rest of the world doesn't, halachically. Still elements of connectiveness to holiness. So here's the point. When we're living at a time when Beis Hamikdash exists first, second, or even in between, but still not entirely dark. Bavel means confused, but it's not black. It's not dark. It's not light. So there could be an element of things aren't crystal clear. But on the other hand, there is some light. So in those periods, one serves God, vacillates, transcendence, engagement, moments of calm, moments of longing, and they balance each other. The Rotzo and Shuv. It's a neat world. The heart expands and contracts. That kind of service of God, let me spell it out. Serving God with your Chokhmah, the seeker of truth and transcendence. And then with your 10th attribute, engagement, there's this beautiful balance between the two. Shabbos and weekday, and so on. But the Korban Pesach, what's Pesach? Pesach means to jump over. Pesach means beyond this system from 1 to 10 completely. Pesach draws on the essence of the soul that is bound up with God Himself, that is beyond these 10 faculties, beyond description, as beautiful as they are, seeker of truth. On the one end and the other end of the spectrum, orderly, engaged, practical life. They are the external manifestations of the soul. But the core of the soul is a piece of Hashem. And that was given birth to on Pesach. That's why Pesach is radical. It's all miraculous. Our birth of our people is miraculous. This is connected to this week. Our calendar doesn't start with creation. Our calendar, which is the laws of nature, our calendar starts with Pesach because we're miraculous people, because we're not part of creation. The core of the soul transcends the whole divine system. We are eternal and miraculous, and a Jew is a Jew forever, and we defy all the laws, not just the laws of this world, we defy all the laws of heaven. The heavenly court is frustrated with the Jew. They cannot figure us out. Keep on hurling accusations. The angels are keep on getting upset. God, what are you doing? They keep on arguing with the Eibishter, and God says, silence. They'll never get it because they're part of the divine system, and the neshama is rooted beyond the system. And in our birth, it's Pesach, which is a jump up, it's radical. Now here comes I'm skipping a lot of detail, but I'm going to get to the core. I can't leave you hanging here. So the Rebbe says, HaPesach ein nechal ela balayla. What brings out the core essence of the neshama, what squeezes it out, is dafke, the night of Golus. That we were seeing, I told you last week, we were talking in the tunnels. That's when these Jews found their Jewishness. The Pesach, which is the birth, the essence of the neshama is only balayla, and only till midnight, because after midnight we're starting to get towards light. And though it's in the depth of darkness, this is where the radical I am a Jew, transcending, he didn't seek, he wasn't searching, he's not living an orderly life, none of that. He's not doing, he's not seeking, he's not the spiritual seeker, and he doesn't live an orderly life of reward and punishment. He's not in that whole thing. But what comes out, I'm a Jew. And what brings it out? It's the night, the deepest night of a Golus, not the night day, which was first temple, second temple, and the temporary quasi-darkness in between. But the Golus that we're in right now. And it's only roasted. What's roasted? Roasted is fire. Cooking is with water. So fire and water are the two things we're talking about. Desire for transcendence. Water comes down, and that's engagement. So there's two transcendence means. There's two kinds of transcendence. The transcendence of the other sacrifices could be consumed anyway, either fire or water, which meaning there's this balance of moments of Shabbos when he's transcendent, and then during the week he's engaged, and it's all within the system, all nice and predictable and beautiful. But the Golus, the deep Golus that we've gone through and going through now, brings out a tzli, a roast, a desire for God that is not satiated and going to be balanced with, I've discovered it, and they will continue the beautiful quest. It's never ending because he wants the Eibishter himself, and it's not satisfied till Mashiach comes. The other sacrifices is a balance. Eat it this way, eat it this way. Yeah, there are moments of true spirituality, but they're kind of satisfying, and then it's balanced with the water. The water, the fire have this nice interplay. But the Korban Pesach, the darkness of Golus, is no water. It's never satisfied. Why? Because the kind of longing here is a longing for the Eibishter himself that's not satisfied till God is revealed, the Mashiach comes. It's a different kind of longing. Let me explain. The first kind of longing is, it's kind of, I need to understand, I need to seek deeper. So there's always a satisfaction, good. Now deeper, get the answer, good. And there's a satisfaction even in that longing as he discovers. He perpetually keeps on discovering deeper and deeper beautiful insights and experience, but at each level it's satisfying. This is Elatzoli. There's no satisfaction until Mashiach comes. Because his longing is for God himself and God's purpose. That's what the goal is. The Rabbi Megillah defies all convention and all limits. That's Pesach. That's now. The birth of our people, the emergence of the neshama, the soul that is a part of a God, and the end of Golus is when it comes out. In the deepest ways we're seeing with our own eyes. I hope I was successful in conveying the general idea. It goes to all the other shchita, ba'azar, every detail in this mission, mamish, every detail, and there's big long footnotes, but you get a sense. B'chol ha'ir, all the details. Friends, that's the bottom line. We're living in this. This is our period in history. We've already hit the chatzos, the darkest. Now it's time for the light, the transformation, Hashem to be revealed, and one with God himself, each one of us here in this world, as this world becomes a home for him, as he shares himself in the deepest way with each one of us. Have a wonderful day. Good Shabbos.